Thanks for tuning in to the Mission Matters podcast, where we feature successful, mission-driven leaders committed to creating a positive change in the world. Our mission with this channel is to inspire other leaders by providing industry insights, new ideas, and inspiring stories from the pros.
All right. Hello, Paul Feith, host of this show where I talk with leaders heading up mission-focused organizations, leading from the heart, inspiring others, and making a difference in our communities. This episode is sponsored by Paul Gregory Media, a certified B Corporation. To learn more about what Paul Gregory Media does and what a B Corporation is, I'll give you a hint. It means benefits. Visit paulgregorymedia.com. I have with me today Nina Menis. For over 30 years, Nina has worked in local nonprofits, association management, educational institutions, and in both public and private P20 educational institutions, which includes, I might add, a position as a director of community relations right in our own hometown of Naperville in School District 203. Welcome, Nina.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for the invitation.
I'm excited about our conversation today, but first I have to go over this impressive litany of experience that you have. And I may even need to take a breath or a sip of water between this, but annual giving program at the College of DuPage, the director of school advancement for Science and Arts Academy, the executive director of the National School Foundation Association, collaborative community initiative with West Aurora School District 129, the Aurora Regional Pathways to Prosperity in partnership with Harvard Graduate School of Education and Jobs for the Future. Okay, here's where I'm going to take a sip. And then the director of community relations, of course, we mentioned at Naperville School District 203. And let's not forget, former president of the Rotary Club of Naperville, which is probably my first time I met you, probably 7 or 8 years ago.
I think so.
And so here you are now as the executive director of KidsMatter. So what I'd love to hear, and I think what our listeners would love to hear, is your journey that led you to KidsMatter and what interested you in that organization.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Paul, for that question. It's a great question. I love KidsMatter. I mean, it's been such a rewarding experience. I just celebrated my 3rd year with KidsMatter, and it seems like it's gone by pretty fast. I started during COVID, and we did a lot of online programming, working on ways that we could support youth and families during that time. Kind of going back, I grew up in Naperville. We moved here right before I started 3rd grade, and it was interesting, kind of going back to that time as a young person. It was funny. I just immediately felt at home. I don't know what it was about. I had wonderful, teachers, classmates, but I immediately felt at home. And so I decided when I got married to my husband, Mark, we decided to raise our kids here. And it's been a wonderful community to raise our kids. And they were involved in water polo and swimming, and I was involved in Girl Scouts and home and school with 203. And so as I was in my professional life, I had a lot of opportunities to get involved in the community, things that I did in my professional life, in my volunteer life. Got to know Marianne Babowski when my daughter was a kindergartner, and I saw Marianne and I gave her my card and I said, let me know if there's anything I could do to help. And so that began the story of my involvement in 203, and became president of Home and School at Maplebrook, and then general Home and School president, and then helped out with a referendum. And when Marianne retired, I was so honored to be hired to fill her gigantic shoes. And Marianne and I continue to work together. Looping back to KidsMatter, Marianne and Babowski and Marianne Boyajian really were 2 wonderful, amazing leaders in our community that helped to get KidsMatter going, through the Edward Hospital launch and initiative. So that's kind of a long, convoluted story, but I have truly been honored to kind of come back from that opportunity. I had to follow Marianne with District 203. I now have had the opportunity to follow Marianne with KidsMatter, and Marianne Babowski continues to be on the advisory board. And I just talked to her on the phone yesterday, and so I'm a big fan of hers. So anytime I can work with Marianne, it's a big plus.
Well, I think when you talk about community leaders in Naperville, especially, her name usually pops up to the top of that list, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you and I can both think of a handful of people that make that list.
Yeah. Yeah.
And talking about the early days of KidsMatter, I mean, it was kind of a grassroots movement a little bit, right?
Yeah, so it's interesting. When I started, it was coming up on the 20th anniversary of KidsMatter. So that was perfect because I had an opportunity to visit with all the past presidents. Various people sent me information for the 20th anniversary for the gala. We created kind of a timeline, which you all helped with, of what happened and when things started. And so what I learned was KidsMatter started out of initiative out of Edward Hospital, and they were seeing in around 1995 an uptick in young people coming into the emergency room with suicidal ideation and drug and alcohol issues. So that was concerning to them, and they formed a group of community leaders with Marianne, the superintendents, the mayor, police chief, et cetera, to really take a look and see, what can we do as a community to be more supportive of young people. Marianne and Babowski and Marianne Boyajian went and did a lot of searching all around the country to see, what models might be out there. And they found the Search Institute in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And that has 40 developmental assets that they track every year nationally on it's data driven, and the more assets a young person has, they've proven that the more likely they are to create endless possibilities and say no to destructive choices. So it's really been since the inception, that start of Edward Hospital, and then it became a nonprofit in 2001. And since that time, we've remained data-driven around those assets and asset building in the community. And we've also remained a bit like an intermediary, where we have all of these community leaders coming together to help ignite the community and supporting young people.
Yeah, and I like how you snuck in the tagline
Yeah.
for KidsMatter, which is saying yes to endless possibilities, saying no to destructive, which I think is reverse, right? Is it say no to destructive choices and yes to endless possibilities, which is kind of broad, but it's when you talk about the 40 some odd different traits from the Search Institute.
Yeah.
It needs to be broad because it's kind of all encompassing. So, and that's sort of the model that you guys model your programs around, right? With that.
Yes. So we took a look, kind of going back to post-COVID. We have these foundational programs at KidsMatter, and after COVID, we were taking a look at, so where are those situations that KidsMatter? KidsMatter. When I say KidsMatter, I mean not just like one organization or one person, but KidsMatter is kind of this community collective intermediary. Where should we be leaning in together? And we took a look at the results from the recent study from the Search Institute, and they had two areas that changed since COVID with young people, two asset areas. And one was in the area of kindness, caring, diversity, equity, inclusion. That increased with young people. But the area that decreased was in the area of sense of identity, sense of purpose, hope for the future. So in looking at that as a team, we thought, let's really lean into the youth mental health space and work more with youth mental health first aid. And then let's also lean into this kind of career pathways, career exploration space to help young people explore areas and get excited about their future.
I know there was a study done at Michigan State University, and I don't have the exact numbers, but I know the trend over the next 25 years was exponential in the need for mental health and counseling.
Yeah.
And that was a nationwide trend that they were seeing. So it's
Yeah.
not going away.
No, it's not going away. And what the really positive thing that's kind of come out of this youth mental health crisis, the crisis and loneliness, all in the United States, is that young people are really interested in learning more. Young people are very proactive about it. They talk about it, and so I think that's a really a positive outcome.
When you say talk about their feelings or talk about the fact that they are involved with some sort of counseling.
That's a great question. I think it's more that they're not afraid to talk about mental health issues. If they're
Okay.
having a bad day, if they're having anxiety, or if they're having a stressful time, they're more knowledgeable about it. I think that there's always more to learn, etc. But I think they have an interest in this space. We had a young man who serves on our senior high board, and he's very passionate about youth mental health. And he just wants to learn more and more about it. And he wants to help his classmates learn more about it. So if
Mhm.
someone's struggling, they know where to go to get support.
Yeah. I also hear that there's less stigma around the whole
Yes.
counseling relationship.
Yes, there is less stigma around that. That's for sure. That's for sure. And I think that because it was a national crisis. There was a lot of
Yeah.
talk about it from the U.S. Surgeon General, from the major pediatric organizations. There's been a conversation nationally about what can we do to be more supportive of young people. And then you probably saw just recently the U.S. Surgeon General came out with an advisory on parents being having a mental health crisis with parents. So I thought that was really telling that we're all trying to work through certain things, and with young people struggling, it's a lot of pressure on parents. I think there's never been a time that where there's so many joys about parenting. It's such a wonderful thing, but
Yeah.
so much more complicated in certain ways today, being a parent, particularly with social media and phones and
Very
different
complex.
yeah, it's very complex. So
And
we're here.
I just read a news story last night. I'm just going to stay away from the political view, but the fact remained that, and I found this surprising, is that they arrested the parent, the father of the 14-year-old boy who shot up the school in was it Atlanta? Uh,
Yeah.
and because he was irresponsible, they say, with letting his gun in the hands of his son. Whether that's bad parenting or not, that's for them to decide. But the point I'm trying to make here is that it is a complex. It is a more complex. Maybe it's just more complex now with social media and digital. The world's a smaller place. Everything is instant, and you're flooded with it. And parents sort of get caught into that a little bit because they're from a different era.
Well, it's really what we're all seeing is that when we were growing up, we didn't have cell phones, right?
Mhm.
So our parents were um, working on different issues, I suppose, right?
Yeah,
But today, because we didn't have cell phones growing up, and it's hard to figure out sometimes, I think, how to parent with the cell phones. When do you give your child a cell phone?
hmm,
How much access um, do you give your child? And then it becomes a point of difficulty sometimes between parents and kids. But
yeah,
there's a lot to navigate there. And we've been Kids Matter in our collective impact work, working with the police department and a variety of different individuals at the hospital, Linden Oaks, to provide forums, educational forums, and to help support families and also to help support young people on how to know how to stay safe online. Just like we now wear seatbelts when we're driving, or we have kids wear helmets when they're riding their bike.
Yeah.
There's things that we're learning about cell phones and social media and online access that it's helpful to know how to help kids help them keep themselves safe, but also to help parents navigate the process and helping keep their kids safe.
Yeah. It almost seems like every crime drama show you see on TV now has something to do with some kid that's gotten catfished, or there's some, social media element on it, or cyberbullying, which is a huge thing and growing. So there's a lot to navigate there. And it's a good thing that KidsMatter is there to help steer them before they get down that rabbit hole and then in those traps.
Mm-hmm.
I'll segue into, I've met hundreds of executive directors in nonprofit organizations, and not every one of them is an accomplished leader. I certainly put you in the category of an accomplished leader. And when you joined KidsMatter with that whole litany of experience that I said in the beginning of the program, I'm curious as to what your thoughts were when you first joined, and maybe how long it took you before you felt like, okay, I feel comfortable. I feel like I've got my sea legs and ready to take it to the next level.
That's a great question. First, I have to say that KidsMatter is such an amazing organization, and it's about collective impact. It's about partnership, and the Marianne Babowski, Marianne Boasian, the various board members, the executive directors, Ida Lynn, Kamala, the partners have done such an amazing job in building KidsMatter over the years. And a great thing about KidsMatter that I came to learn quickly, and that I knew when I was working in District 203, is that it has the ability, because of the way it was constructed, to operate fairly quickly as this collaborative team to help support the community, help to support young people and families. And so I think that it is a bit ever changing. There we have our traditional programs, and we have an amazing staff, just an amazing, accomplished staff team. And we have these traditional programs that we do every year in partnership with the city and the park district and hospital and the school districts. And then we have these abilities to lean in. And I think kind of going back to taking a look at data and being data driven, you only have so much bandwidth or capacity. Where can you make that biggest impact? And so to get to your question about when did I feel that you got your arms around it, I don't think you ever truly feel that you have your arms around it. I did have a great benefit in starting that, since I had worked as Director of Community Relations for District 203 for 7 years. I worked so closely with 204 and so many partners, amazing partners in the community that were supportive of the schools, that I had a bit of a network of people that I knew that loved kids and really wanted to do great things in the community to support kids. So that was really helpful. But I think until you're actually in the chair, you're doing the work, you have all sorts of things to learn every day. So I really benefited from great people to help me along the way as I was learning all about kind of the workings of KidsMatter, how it worked, the funding streams, the partnerships, the relationships that KidsMatter had. So I'm really grateful for the folks that helped me along the way. And I think one of the best things you can do as a new leader is to be a really good listener and read a lot of history about the organization.
Yeah, I like what you said about never really quite feeling comfortable or getting your arms around it, because that's kind of a sign of a good leader too, besides the listening part and all that. But I think once you get comfortable, either it's time to take the next step or look at strategy again, or maybe you're missing the boat on some things that you should be looking at. And your funding model that you mentioned, so lots happened since you said you're starting your third year now.
Mhm.
So a lot's happened, right? Because you started, I think, with a staff of 2, as I recall,
Yeah.
and it's grown.
Mhm.
And it's grown because the needs have grown and the programs have grown, right? So I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about the programs in just a second. But where was I going with this? I guess, um, gosh, sometimes when you hit 50 some years old, you just lose a train of thought. I guess where I was trying to go, and I'm going to try and reconstruct it, it's grown. And yeah, your funding model, is it that you conceive of the programs, you look at the need, you conceive of what programs are needed, and you find the funding for that? Is that the model that you pretty much go after?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it really kind of goes to the way Kids Matter was set up
Mhm.
and to really help be asset building for young people in the community, kind of this proactive approach. So we have a gala coming up. And what I always say about the gala is the money that's raised at the gala helps support our programs, but it also helps when people say yes to Kids Matter, it gives us the opportunity to say yes to various opportunities that might present themselves. So we do have our traditional programs that we do every year to support young people and families. Then we have data that's bubbling up that we learn about through the police department, through the schools, through the city, of things that we can collaboratively work together to support kids and families. And then there are those things that come up, right? Those opportunities. And I'll give you one example. Nike by Naperville moved in, and I was meeting someone for coffee at Starbucks, and I was walking down the sidewalk, and they were standing out looking at their sign. I turned around and said hello, welcome to Naperville, gave them my card, and they ended up asking me, Nina, we have shoes that we get. Do you ever need shoes? Well, Kids Matter had never done anything with shoes before. So I said, yes, sure, we would love to have some shoes. So we created a
Say
whole
yes
program.
first, figure it out later.
Yeah, we created a whole program around shoes, and it was the most magical thing. So we would pick up shoes, we would put it in a Google Doc. We would send it to the social workers. If a young person in the school needed shoes, the social worker would write his name down, not the student, but the social worker's name and the school. We would pack everything up for the schools. The young people that are in the special needs program, the 18 to 24 program at 204 and 203 would come by, pick up the shoes, deliver them to the schools, and we received the most heartwarming expressions of gratitude from those social workers. And so I think that's just such a great example of opportunities that will present themselves to Kids Matter. We get calls all the time from people wanting to be connected to volunteer opportunities, job opportunities for their young people. They might have a young person that is looking for counseling. Kids Matter helps to support the collaborative youth team, which is about 36 organizations that work with youth and families in our community. So what we refer them to that list. So we kind of act as this connector in the community, and those opportunities to support kids in different ways will come up along the way. And because we get funding, because there are people that are so generous and believe in our mission, we're able to say yes, when those opportunities come up.
Nice.
Yeah.
God, they were out there looking at their sign when you walked by.
They were just looking at the sign. I said, well, I better say hello.
Yeah. And
Say
look
hello.
look where it's led.
Yeah. So we're really, really grateful for that partnership with Nike by Naperville. And we're now continuing to look at working on that program with some new partners that are in the works. So more to come on that.
There are other shoe companies in downtown Naperville.
Yeah,
We know
yeah,
of, yes,
more to come.
who are also very
Yeah,
community driven.
yeah, but we love Nike by Naperville. They're wonderful.
Nice. We'll make
Really
sure
love-
we'll make sure we plug them.
Yeah.
Um, well, let's finish with this because you have your gala coming up in October, but this podcast is going to be listened to, I'm sure, um, for many months to come. So, what other programs, Hallmark programs, do you have throughout the year?
Mhm. Right. So we have some new programs that we just started in the last couple of years that are related to what we saw from the Search Institute's data and data that we've seen from the IYS data of area school districts. We started the Springboard series, and we did it in partnership with District 203 and Indian Prairie School District 204, Edward Elmhurst Hospital, and now the Endeavor Health and College of DuPage. And it's just been the most amazing program. We have young people that are interested in exploring healthcare careers, and they receive college credit from College of DuPage. And
Nice.
then on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then on Thursdays, they go on field experiences. And we have this behavior health, mental health wrap around some of the careers. And they went to police and fire and learned about de-escalation techniques and met the folks, the social workers that ride along with the police. They went to North Central College, and Dr. Layla Azabad spoke and shared all of the ways that you could become a psychologist or a social worker. What does that look like? What does that career pathway look like? And then they got to see the medical area of the college. If you are having a challenging time, or if you have a fever, or what that looks like, where is that on a college campus? What does a college campus offer? And so we got to meet all of the professionals there and learn about their career pathway journey. And of course, we got wonderful support from Endeavor Health for that project. And the young people got to visit Linden Oaks. Linden Oaks was a great partner on the project. They helped support us with the Team Mental Health First Aid certification the kids received. So it was just a great summer. We went and visited the judges. They got to visit with the judges in DuPage County Health Department and learn about how mental health issues are handled in the courts today compared to 10 years ago. It was really fascinating. And then we explored an opportunity to expand that this summer with a trades and construction program that Sherilyn Hevel thought of. And so we had some wonderful partners that came alongside us to help launch that. We had 6 young people. They received credit from College of DuPage, and Karen Shavat at Power Forward DuPage scheduled trades visits. And each Thursday they went to visit a different trade. And then Mikkel Mays with Belaine Andrews hosted the kids at a construction site of an elementary school. And the kids got to see all of the trades at the construction site. There were 11 trades there that day, as well as the civil engineers, the project manager, etc. So that was great. NICOR helped out with that. Sunbelt supported that as well as Bosch. So we're really, again, so grateful that these folks wanted to invest in the young people in our community.
Wow, a lot of partners there.
Yeah. And so the other thing that we've done, we partnered with North Central College on this teen philanthropy initiative. Mark Trimbacki from UC Bank and I are co-chairing it. This year, we started it last year. This year, we have a junior class and a senior class. They're getting college credit from College of DuPage, and they're learning all about being a community leader. They're learning all about philanthropy. They're learning about board leadership. And their junior year, they give $10,000 away at the end of the year.
Mm.
And their senior year, they raise the $10,000 for the juniors to give
Mm.
away. So it's
Self-funded.
just a great program.
And
These
it
young,
sounds like a great program, where you get to be philanthropic,
yes,
which makes it easier when it's not your own money, but still you're teaching these kids at a young age to give back,
mhm,
and also that board experience, which really come in handy later on.
yeah. It was so interesting when they were learning all about the business of a nonprofit
Mm.
and where it sits within all the different sectors. It was fascinating to see them work on the RFP. And when the applications came in, then they went and visited in teams. They visited all the nonprofits and they interviewed them, and then came back and reported to the whole group on their interviews that they had. And then as a team, the 30 kids voted on how to allocate the funds. So it was a fascinating process. And what I was so proud about is that they definitely had different opinions,
Yeah.
but they were so respectful of one another and very data driven. So I thought that was really great. And then on the capstone project, we got to celebrate. I think there were 12 nonprofits that received funding from these
Oh,
young
wow.
people. And we were able to celebrate those nonprofits and
Nice.
all the great work they do in our community at City Hall. So that was
Well, nothing will quash an opinion better than data, right?
right.
It sort of just ends the argument right then and
Yeah,
there.
that's
Um,
true. That's
Opinion
true.
just certainly adds color for sure, but
Mm.
well, Nina, I think you've said it all. I love the initiatives. I love the programs that are going on. Obviously, we've been partners for a while, so I'm very familiar. Thank you for sharing your journey and your leadership experience that you've gained throughout your entire adult career and putting that to use in KidsMatter, forming all those partnerships. I love the collaborative youth team with how many was that? 30 some odd,
36. Yeah.
36, most of which were nonprofits, right?
Yes. Yes. They're all
All
nonprofits,
nonprofits.
like the library or the park district.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That's great. Any parting thoughts for our listeners?
The only thing that just maybe three things, three
Yeah.
parting quick thoughts. One
Even better.
is, yeah, regarding some of our traditional programs that have been longstanding in the community, our volunteer fair, which we have in September. It's going to be September 17th this year. We also have a job fair in January that we partner with the Park District on. Those are wonderful community events for young people and other community members. So we're really grateful for that support. We also help to support the young people that serve on boards and commissions, and we run a leadership academy for them. And then we also have youth service awards. So young people that are nominated by the folks that are part of the volunteer fair, we have youth service awards in partnership with the city and recognize those young people for their service to the community. So that's wonderful. So I just had to throw in, some of those pieces.
Long-standing programs. Yeah.
Yeah, longstanding programs, and we're so grateful for the community for their support. And then the last thing I want to share is that during COVID, we had an opportunity. We work closely with the DuPage County Health Department and in a variety of different capacities, but we had an opportunity to be on a lot of Zoom calls. And there was one Zoom call that I was on that I remember there was a teacher talking about how they monitored the classroom, how
Mhm.
the kids were doing. And they asked them to write down, they had three questions. And the first question was, they asked them to write down one after school activity. And then the second question was they wanted them to write down two friends. And then the third question was they wanted them to write down three caring adults that they had. So the piece that I wanted to share, my last piece, was that I think that helps to illustrate the importance of all of us, right? To be more proactive in being caring adults to young people in our community, whether it's our our family or nieces, nephews, whether it's the person that bags our groceries at the grocery store, whether it's the opportunity to develop internships and job sharing experiences for young people in your business, or whether it's a neighbor. I think that it's important today more than ever for young people to kind of grow that list of caring adults in their lives.
Well put. Well put. Well, Nina, I've been wanting to have this conversation for a long time now. Thank you for the opportunity. I really enjoyed our talk today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm very, very grateful, Paul. We love working with you, and you're so knowledgeable. We're very grateful for how you have helped KidsMatter grow over the years. So thank you.
Awesome. Great to hear. Thank you for that. Till next time, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Mission Matters podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.